edition of your Top Flight television program, Morning Ride. It is time for our guest segment. And today, like you know, we are celebrating the World or the International Volunteer Day. And when I opened, I talked about the International Volunteer Day, talking about how we can be volunteers to help people, especially those who do not have voices, to be their voice. And on this day, we are going to be looking at the World Volunteer Day, building stronger communities through volunteer action. Join me as I welcome our guest for today. He's going to be talking about this, Felix Ore. He is the Disaster Management Officer, Nigerian Red Cross Society. Good morning, sir, and good to have you.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Deltas. It's a wonderful time. Happy International Volunteers Day celebration to us all.
All right, happy International Volunteer Day to you too. So let's look at this. It is actually a great topic to explore, I would say.
Yeah.
Now, World Volunteer Day, building stronger communities through volunteer action. First, let's look at World Volunteer Day and the global context. So when we talk about World Volunteer Day, what are we looking at? And what is the primary purpose and significance of World Volunteer Day, December 5th, which is today, and also the theme? Today's like 3 questions in one.
Yeah. All right. The International Volunteer Day, that is also known as the World Volunteer Day, is a day set aside by the United Nations to celebrate the activities of volunteers within our communities, and then to appreciate volunteers for the good work they are doing in the community. Now, why did we say volunteers needs to be celebrated? It's because without volunteers, the world will be paying a lot for the activities carried out within the community. And again, the theme for this year's World Volunteer Day celebration is every contribution matters. Every contribution matters. So when volunteers go out, when they contribute to society building, when they contribute to community building through their time, their treasures, and their talent. When we talk about their treasures here, we are simply talking about their money. They're talking about their belongings, whatever belongs to them. It may be their houses, it may be their clothes, it may be their shoes. And then when we talk about their talent, we're looking at the skills they've acquired in life, their skills, their level of expertise, and what have you. So we look at these 3 points: their time, their talent, and their treasures. So in a nutshell, the World Volunteer Day celebration is meant to bring to the consciousness of people the need to volunteer their services in strengthening community resilience. So World Volunteer Day is looking at bringing the consciousness of volunteerism to communities and people, and then appreciating the work that volunteers do without being paid.
Okay, that's a good one. Actually, it's a selfless service, I would say. Now you talked about we're looking at their time, that the volunteers bring in their time, their treasure, and what again?
And their talent.
And their talent, okay. Now how does the observance of World Volunteer Day help raise awareness of volunteer actions impact globally?
Now, you can see that what DBS is doing today is bringing to the consciousness of people who may want to volunteer and do not know the direct means to volunteer through. Okay. So some persons may meet us outside this place when we are done with this program and say, the Red Cross, how do I volunteer? How do I join the Red Cross? That increases the numerical strength of the Red Cross in Delta State, not just in Delta State, in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, but globally. Today, the Red Cross sits as the largest humanitarian voluntary organization in the world, with over 17 million volunteers. And of these 17 million volunteers, 1 million of these volunteers are from Nigeria, and also breaking down to Delta State. So you see that the consciousness, the celebration of the World Volunteer Day increases the number of volunteers that we have, and it increases the level of volunteer actions towards mitigating the consequences of disasters and other emergencies within our local communities.
Okay. All right, so this brings me to the question, how can one be a volunteer? Now, you talked about Red Cross being the largest volunteer organization
in the world.
So how can someone be a volunteer? Does it require registration? Does it require paying before you become a volunteer, or just tell us?
Now, for you to become a volunteer of the Nigerian Red Cross Society, everyone is qualified to be a member of the Nigerian Red Cross Society. Okay. Is qualified to volunteer, and the first thing you need to do is to go on our platform. Go to www.redcrossnigeria.org, and then you log in. You click on Join Us. You register as a volunteer. Once you're done with that, you go to the nearest division. You go to the nearest division to you. In all 25 local governments of Delta State, we have our divisions there, including Ochimili South. So you go to the nearest division to you, and then you approach the divisional secretary, who puts you through. There is a membership form, there is a token you pay for a year, there's an annual due, depends on the membership category you fit in. There is a membership category for junior Red Crossers, which falls under primary school. There's a membership category for detachment members, for those in the university and tertiary institution. There is a service group, those who are out of tertiary institutions and working. There is silver membership, there is bronze, there is gold, there is platinum. These are different levels. Once you get out of the university, you now determine what level of membership you want to subscribe for. Each of these levels have their various annual dues, annual subscription attached to it. So you now determine what you want to give to humanity for the year. Some of them are as low as 500 naira, 300 naira for a year. Some of them are 5,000, some of them are 20,000, some of them are 50,000. Some of them are 10,000. You just determine what you want to give to humanity for the year, and that influences the category of membership you pick. But if you are out of secondary school, you cannot go to become a junior Red Crosser because you are already above that category. So within all local governments in Delta State, you find the Red Cross units, and also we have the Red Cross detachment in communities, in churches, in mosques, and we have the junior school unit in primary and secondary school. So all categories of persons, be you a boy, a girl, a child, a man, an adult, a doctor, an engineer, a teacher, a farmer, a businesswoman, a broadcaster like you, can be a member of the Red Cross.
He's trying to tell me something.
You're trying to tell me something. You too can be a volunteer.
I get that message clearly. Okay, all right. So we'll look at that. Now let's look at SDGs now, Sustainable Development Goals. In what ways does volunteering contribute to achieving the United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals?
In many ways, in a lot of ways, the activities of volunteers help in strengthening and promoting the SDGs as stated. Let me just mention a few of the SDGs. One of them talks about zero hunger. One of them talked about health and sanitation. One of them talked about gender sensitivity. So in all this, the Red Cross, the volunteers play a key role. The activity of volunteers play a key role. For instance, to ensure that we have zero cases of hunger. What do we need to do? Support people. Thus, we have Red Cross volunteers all over the world, including Delta State, who have been trained to distribute food and non-food items. In terms of zero hunger, we've distributed food items. We've carried out economic security activities, which we call EcoSec, where we distribute cash. Last year, we distribute cash to about 1,500 households within Delta State, 105,000 naira each to vulnerable communities, flood-prone communities. And then in terms of in terms of water and sanitation. Last year also, we were able to stretch water supply to over 7,000 households within Delta State, moving from Ughelli South to Isoko South local government down to Ndokwa East.
Yes, okay.
These communities have borehole water system that has been dilapidated for a good number of years. The Red Cross came, revamped it, and then there was flow of water to houses. This is what volunteers are doing. These persons are not paid for the job they are doing, but they are volunteering their time and their technicalities, their skills, which is their talent, to ensure that community gets, and their resources to ensure that community gets adequate services, adequate provision. And then in terms of gender sensitivity, the volunteers have taken it upon themselves to ensure that there is gender sensitivity, most especially in this part of the world, Africa, Nigeria specifically, and then Delta State. Ensure that there is active participation of the female gender in every activity we carry out. Ensure that not just because we want to bring the female gender in, ensure that their capacities are developed to the level of being able to give adequate technical support to the communities we serve. Ensure that there's gender balance, there's gender sensitivity, prevention of GBVs, gender-based violence, and sexual harassment within the communities that we serve. It's been a strong point that the volunteer activities of the Red Cross movement has laid a hand on for the last 3 years, and these are driven by volunteers, people who are not paid for the services they render, people who driving force is to see that communities, vulnerable people, keep the smile on their face going.
Yes, I must commend the Red Cross Society because they have actually done a lot. I remember a time where Oko was flooded. You know, some of the Red Cross members were called upon, and they went there. They went into the waters, you know, to bring out people that were drowning. It's a bravery. I would say it's bravery because I personally cannot even go to that kind of water to want to help anybody because I might be you know, they don't even think of the dangers involved. You know?
They do.
But
they think of it just that preventive measures are taken.
They still go ahead to do it.
Yeah.
Now that brings me to training. How often do they go for training? Because I know most of these persons they don't have the technical know-how on how to go about these things. Do they have regular training, you know? Or how, let's talk about training. How do you train, or how do they train their members?
Okay. For the Nigerian Red Cross Society, we have a volunteer policy.
Okay.
And this volunteer policy states that every volunteer before deployment must be equipped. And what are the things needed for equipping our volunteers? The first point is to develop the capacity of our volunteers so that they'll be able to carry out that task that has been assigned them, so that they'll be able to have positive impact in the community they are going to serve. Just last week or so, our volunteers within Oshimili South distributed over 5,000 clothes to communities within Oshimili South.
Okay.
These volunteers before them were trained on relief management and distribution. Not just that, last week they were trained on safer access. And next week, they will be trained on SAW, safety on our road, because this is the Ember period.
Yes.
They will need to go into the road to ensure safety in collaboration with other stakeholders, as promulgated by the Millennium Goals, which talks about partnership and collaboration. So training has become, capacity development has become a vital tool for strengthening our volunteers. In the Red Cross, we do not deploy volunteers without being trained. Every year, apart from the trainings we do within the divisions, the capacity development that we carry out for our volunteers, we also train stakeholders, because it will be terrible for us to be working with stakeholders who do not have the needed capacity. For a volunteer that does not have the needed capacity, that volunteer is an hazard, and we do not go with hazards to the field. So we develop capacity. Every year in August, we carry out what we call a branch training program. In this branch training program, we do health and care, we do disaster management, we do first aid, we do Other training, community engagement and accountability. And these strengthen our capacity to respond. This really strengthens the capacity of volunteers to respond. The major issues with the Red Cross volunteers is not capacity. Though we are not saying that we are at the peak, we know it or no, we still need, our capacity still needs to be strengthened. But the major challenge is logistics for volunteer deployment. Because most of the time, especially in this part of the world, the people you see who come out to volunteer are low-income earners. Thus, they may not have the maximum resources to fully volunteer. And in volunteering, it is not compulsory that you must give everything. You must not give the 3 T's. In as much as you are able to give your time. If you do not have the talent and the treasure, your time is good. We build on your capacity, we develop your capacity, and then other persons that have the treasures and the technicality will now come into support. But in case of Africa, where we have limited resources, so you see that people have the time, they have the capacity because we develop their capacity, but they do not have the resources to be able to.
And this will cause limitation to what you're supposed to do,
and this
or how far you're supposed to reach.
Definitely, this has been part of the limitation for volunteerism within the state and within our context.
Okay. Well, I think you have to make an appeal. But by the time we finish, you have to make an appeal. But now let's talk about behind the scene. Do we have any behind the scene volunteers, like people who volunteer just their resources? They don't come out to give their time or their talents. Do we have volunteers like that?
Now, when you go to the Red Cross volunteer database, you'll be asked there, how do you want to volunteer?
Okay.
It is either as a member, or as a volunteer, or as a donor.
Okay.
And so we have some persons who are donors to the Red Cross. We have some persons who are associate members to the Red Cross. Okay. Most times they are not available physically with their time to go out and do the job to support within the community. But what do? They support massively with their treasures, with their resources. Sometimes we may have relief materials to take to the community, but we do not have vehicles to help us move it, to help us move this thing. So we lash on these individuals. Okay. Please support us. We need to move this item to the community so we'll be able to. It happened last week when we were going to distribute the clothes at the community. One of our donors came in and said, take this vehicle, take this ALOS, go with this ALOS, use it at the end of the day, return it back to us. Sometimes we may have the manpower to do the job, but we do not have the resources needed. So we lash on to organizations, we lash on to individuals, SEMA, other stakeholders, individuals to support, and then they support. When we say SEMA, we are talking about State Emergency Management Agency.
Okay. Well, so far you've been getting support when you beckon on people, I would say.
But the support has been minimal.
Minimal, yeah.
Minimal.
So it's going to get to maximum. All right, so how does, or rather, how has the role of international and local volunteers evolved in response to global crises such as a pandemic and a climate event?
Now you see that the role has really evolved. It has moved from where it was before to a higher level. The COVID-19 pandemic was an eye-opener for volunteers in the world. We could now do things that we were thinking before were impossible. The COVID-19 pandemic made volunteerism more technical, more evolved, and more robust. It gave us a broader idea on how to carry out volunteerism. Today, as we speak, we are no longer looking for volunteerism. It's no longer about moving a volunteer from Asaba to go and volunteer in Warri. No, we are looking at localized, community-based volunteers, where people are activated, and within the first 4 minutes, the volunteers are able to respond to emergencies within their context, except on technical base, where we have to move technical persons for technical support. within the other part. So the volunteer activity globally has evolved. Thus, we can now lash on technical persons anywhere in the world. Remotely, they can support us remotely. We can support them remotely. We can plan together. We can plan in a global platform how global interventions will take place. For instance, we have what we call the National Disaster Response Team that is based in Nigeria, and all our members are cut across, all volunteers of this National Disaster Response Team are cut across various states, various local government, various ward, various communities within Nigeria, and we can meet and then plan for activities. So you see that our activities are evolving, and then you can also see that we have what we call the Regional Disaster Management team. This one cut across states, Africa, West Africa, just name it. These are technical persons which we interact, and then sometimes we can move the technical persons from Nigeria to Nairobi in Kenya, from Nigeria to Johannesburg in South Africa, to Tripoli in Libya, to just name it, anywhere in the world. So you see that there is exchange of expertise.
Yes.
There is exchange of ideas. We meet at conferences, we interact. Volunteerism is now a global team where we work simultaneously. We work in synergy, so that the way it is done in South Africa, in Johannesburg, it's still the same way it is done in Oshebelisat, in Oko, in Nigeria. It is the same way it will be approached in Djibouti. It's the same way it will be approached in Malawi. It's the same way it will be approached in Tanzania, in New York, and all that. In synergy, in strong collaboration. Volunteerism has also taken us into collaboration, where the Red Cross cannot just work alone. Even when the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which gives us the Red Cross Act 1961, permits us to work alone or in collaboration with other movement partners. We also collaborate with other stakeholders, because what we cannot do, other stakeholders can do it. So where we cannot perform this task, other stakeholders who can perform come, they cover the gap, and then we function. It helps to ease our intervention. It reduces duplication of intervention or effort.
I'd like to commend what the Red Cross Society is doing, but also part of all the SDGs. The part where you said they rotate, I think I really like that part, because what you don't know, when you go to other zones, you would learn, and then you bring it just to impact positively in your own domain. So I'd like to commend them for that. Now, what was the difference between formal volunteering through organizations now and informal volunteering, which is one-on-one helping, like helping a neighbor, or will I say personal volunteering? And how do both strengthen a community?
Now when we talk about informal volunteering, informal is like the Samaritan in the Bible. If you read the book of Luke chapter 10, it's more or less like the Samaritan who met the man and picked him up, cleaned up his wound, took him to an inn, and then it was recorded. Informal is talking about just neighbor to neighbor. But when we talk about formal volunteering, it means that you are attaching yourself to an organization that is into volunteering, that is into humanitarian services. And one of such organization is the Red Cross movement, which is the leading humanitarian, the leading voluntary organization in the world. So we have a database of our volunteers. For instance, if they are looking for volunteers in the world, they'll come, if you say you are a volunteer in the world, the difference, they'll ask you, which organization do you belong to? If you are doing an informal thing, then you are more or less not a volunteer. But when you are with a recognized organization, which is a formal one, it means that you are registered for the Nigerian Red Cross Society. We have our DB code, our database code. So, for instance, my database code is 3903. So anywhere I go to in the world, I do not even need to whom it may concern. I just tell you, my name is Ore Ejoya Felix. I'm a volunteer with the Nigerian Red Cross Society with DB code 3903. All you just need to do is to go to www.redcrossnigeria.org. Click on Join Us. You will see my activity there. Everything I've been volunteering, everything I've been doing, the pint of blood I've been donating, the hours I've been volunteering, the donations I've been making to humanity, everything, you will see it there. So that is the edge that former volunteers that are attached to international organizations or local organizations have. They have a volunteer database, they have more recognition, they have protection.
Okay.
For instance, the Red Cross have an insurance scheme for our volunteers. For instance, the Red Cross have volunteer policy. For instance, the Red Cross has a code of conduct.
Okay.
But for individuals who do informal volunteering, they won't have
Such.
volunteer policy, they won't have code of conduct, they won't have insurance policy.
It's just like a one-man standing.
It's just like a one-man standing without protection.
Okay. So
and when the government is looking for people, where organizations are looking for people, they look for the former volunteers.
Okay, that's a nice one. Now, before I let you go, one last question. How can communities better recognize and celebrate their volunteers to sustain long-term engagement as we celebrate the International Volunteer Day today?
Okay. It is first and foremost, it's very nice that community recognize volunteers.
Yes.
Because the job that volunteer does, it's not because, most times they look at volunteers, some people look at volunteers as if they are not paid, so they are too poor. No. The reason why volunteers are not paid is not because the money is too small or whatever, but because the services we render is not quantifiable.
Okay.
So you can't actually pay for the services of a volunteer. Now that brings me to how can volunteers be better appreciated by communities. Identify volunteers.
Okay.
When you have public activities, appreciate them. You just mention their names and the activity they do. Present an award to those volunteers that has given you good services. Ensure that volunteer welfare is put into consideration. Because a man is volunteering does not mean that you will engage this man or this woman, this volunteer, for 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. without providing lunch for that volunteer.
Or even water.
Or even water for that volunteer. Appreciate them by providing
The essential
things for them to be able to do what? To volunteer.
Okay.
Communities should also take care of volunteers. There is what we call help the helper in the Red Cross.
Okay.
There should be a welfare plan for volunteers so that when they become casualties, they will feel that, although volunteers do not work because they want to get something in return, but they will feel comfortable knowing that the community they once served while they were strong recognizes the effort that they put in towards ensuring that the community is safe. In all, everyone needs to be part of community service. Okay. Everyone needs to be a volunteer.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Felix Ore, for talking to us about the World Volunteer Day, building stronger communities through volunteer action. We really appreciate your presence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And so you've heard it all. Everyone needs to be a volunteer. So are you going to be a volunteer today, or you want us to still hit it on your head, or take a megaphone and sing it into your ear that you have to be a volunteer? You can be an informal volunteer, or you can be a formal volunteer. Whichever works for you. You can just give your time, your talent. Don't forget, it is either your time, your talent, and your treasure. So whichever you want to give, please do well to give. Thank you so much, and this is where we drop it on Morning Ride Fridays edition. My name is Lilibet Ugochukwu, wishing you the best and have a beautiful weekend. Bye.